Welcome to Best of British Blackwell. Thank you for coming back and thank you for your continued support with this YouTube and Facebook channel. I'd like to wish all my viewers and subscribers a very happy new year. This is my first video of 2019 and I'm continuing along that kind of classic dinner theme, and today we're going to be making two things. We're going to be making a Chicken Kiev, classic garlic butter Chicken Kiev, and some Duchess potatoes, which are just a nice variation on mashed potatoes. Taste slightly different, a little bit more effort involved, but something a little bit different from your standard kind of mashed chips or roast potatoes. The Chicken Kiev is an absolute classic. It's something that I used to enjoy very much when I was a youngster. These days the pre-packed ones tend to be kind of far too processed, and this is going to be made using some really decent chicken breasts, and they're actually really cheap to make yourself, very worth the effort. So we'll make a start on the Kiev because the potatoes are really quick. I'm going to show you that a little bit later on. First things first, we're going to prep our butter for our chicken. So come and have a look at the ingredients and let's make a start. So for the Chicken Kiev, kind of self-explanatory that you're going to need some chicken. So I've got 4 decent chicken breasts there. Probably not going to use all of them, probably just do a couple, maybe even 3. But these are just standard chicken breasts that I've recently bought from Sainsbury's. You're going to need a little bit of parsley. You can use curly leaf parsley or flat leaf parsley, it doesn't really matter. Key ingredient is some garlic. You're going to need some butter. You're going to need a couple of eggs. You're going to need some flour. And you're going to need some breadcrumbs. I'm going to use panko breadcrumbs today, but standard golden breadcrumbs will do. To start this dish, what we need to do is prep the butter, because we need to get the garlic and the parsley infused into the butter, and then we need to set it in the fridge or the freezer so it's nice and hard. So we're going to start that process next. Okay, so for the filling of our Kiev or our garlic butter, what I'm going to start by doing is taking these stalks off of the parsley. They don't taste too bad, but the texture of them is not what we're looking for in this dish. So just go through your parsley, get as many leaves off as you can, and then we will start to put this together. Once you've sorted your parsley out, it's time to move on to the garlic. Now lots of people would use a pestle and mortar for this. I'm just using a standard garlic crusher. Get that garlic crushed into a bowl. I'm using 1 big clove of garlic for every Chicken Kiev that I'm going to make. So I'm going to be making 3. So 3 nice big strong cloves of garlic. I will get that bit of skin out in a minute. A couple of bits of skin gone in there. So I don't want that piece and I don't want that piece in there. It's slightly too big. Now what we're going to do is add our butter, and again 3 Kievs, so we're going to use 3 spoonfuls of butter in total, straight in there. Now what we're going to do is chop up our parsley nice and fine, and we're going to get that in there as well. So this doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, but you do want to get it chopped as finely as you can, because you don't want big bits in there. It just needs to be an addition to this butter, not the main part. So I'm going to chop this down nice and fine. I say that's about good enough. Bring our spoon back over, and then slowly but surely just start to mix that together. What you want to do, you don't want to melt it, and you might be tempted to melt this down, but what you want to do in a minute, I'm going to show you this other part, is we're going to get this onto some cling film once it's all mixed together, and then we're going to roll it up into a sausage and put it in the fridge to set so it's easier to get into our chicken. That's the part I'm going to show you next. Whilst we're waiting for our butter to harden, let's start to prepare these chicken breasts. I'm going to be using 3 of them. I'll take 3 out, put this other to this side. Every now and then you buy some chicken breasts and they come with like this piece of fat or sinew here. It's not particularly tasty. It does annoy me a little bit when you buy chicken breasts like that. It is obviously a natural bit of the meat, but I quite like it when it's been trimmed off. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim these bits off because I'm not too keen on them. So once you've trimmed all of these up, what we're going to be doing is creating a pocket for our beautiful garlic butter to sit inside. I'll prepare the rest of these later and I'll concentrate on showing you this one. The thickest part of the chicken breast is from here down to here. It's very thin at the bottom. So what we're going to do is get a very sharp knife, make a hole straight in the top. What you should be able to do if you put the knife flat on the board and put your hand over the top is feel very gently with your fingers where this knife is going. So it's going down, and as you can see the knife is through, but it hasn't gone through the meat this side and it hasn't gone completely through the meat this side. That's about perfect. Keep going down as far as you can, and then you'll start to see there's the point of the blade there. That's probably as far as we want to go, but what we do want to do is get a bit of a hole in here as well. So take the knife out, turn it over, and this time go in at a slight angle to open up the cavity that you've just made. I'll show you from this side. Again, coming back down here, and then when you can start to move the knife around inside the chicken breast, you know that you've opened up quite a decent pocket and you can fit your finger in there. And basically what's going to happen is that garlic butter is going to go straight in there. So I'm going to carry on with these. Be very careful if you're using a sharp knife. You really don't want to cut yourself. And you need to be careful not to make holes anywhere other than here, because the garlic butter is just going to escape and you ruin the whole point of having that beautiful exploding chicken Kiev. So I'm going to crack on with these, and then the next stage is going to be getting our garlic butter into here. While we're waiting for our butter, garlic butter to sort itself out for our Kievs, why don't I talk you through how we make Duchess potatoes. Now you might have seen these before, you can buy them frozen in the shops. They do taste quite good, but they're very easy to make at home. They're basically a little swirl of mashed potato that you stick into the oven and it comes out nice and golden brown. And essentially all it is some mashed potato, obviously made with standard potatoes. It's got some egg yolks in there. It's got some butter, some salt and pepper, and some Parmesan cheese. And the trick is you mash the potatoes up, you add the egg yolks in, you add the butter, you add your Parmesan cheese and your seasoning, you get it into a piping bag and you pipe it onto a baking tray. They look really good, they look really pretty, and they taste wonderful. So let's make a start. First thing we're going to do is peel and boil some potatoes up ready for mashing, then I'll show you the next stage. Okay, so now we are ready to get our garlic butter inside these chicken breasts. This has just come out of the freezer, as you can see, quite firm. That's perfect, that's just what we want. We've already cut the holes into these chicken breasts, now it's just a matter of getting this garlic butter in there. So what I'm going to do is just take this to one side and unroll this. You have to work quite quickly because obviously this butter is going to start melting and going quite soft the moment it leaves the freezer. But the good thing about this is that you can now leave this garlic butter in the freezer and use it another time if you don't want to use it all in one go. I don't think we're going to be using all of this right away, so it's perfect really. Quite well frozen, as you can see. What I'll do first, take a knife, cut a piece off like that. Beautiful that the parsley's run all the way through there. That's looking beautiful. Take the chicken breast and squeeze. If you've created a big enough pocket, sorry the butter's just broken there. If you created a big enough pocket, the butter should just squeeze straight into the cavity that you've created inside the chicken. It's just broken through a little bit there, which is a little bit annoying. It's not the worst, there you go, perfect. So that butter has gone through. You can see there it's kind of just poked out a little bit, which is a little bit annoying, but that's okay. What I'm going to do a little bit later is fix that with one of these. Where are my little toothpicks gone? That's annoying. Here they are. So to secure this in place, I'm going to get a toothpick, put that straight through there. That's going to seal that hole up this side. And then what you can also do, get another one here, just put it through the flesh there. So that one's got some in it, perfect. Let's move straight on to the next one. So now we're ready to get our chicken Kievs nice and well coated with a beautiful breadcrumb. In this bowl here, I've got some plain flour, which I'm just going to season. Very basic seasoning, literally some salt, and some pepper. Plenty in there. Just give it a bit of a shake. There we go. Beautiful seasoned flour. Get your hand in there as well if you want to. Got our tea towel here. Going to make a bit of a mess anyway. In here we've got 2 beaten eggs. And then in this one we're going to add our panko breadcrumbs. Nice coverful there. Also, a little tip for you. What I'm going to be doing is going flour, egg, breadcrumbs, plate. Stick a few breadcrumbs on the bottom of the plate. Because in a minute what we're going to be doing is putting these into the fridge so that the coating sets around them quite nicely. You don't want them to stick to the plate. So just a couple on the bottom of the plate there. Little tip. Okay, roll our sleeves up. First chicken breast. So mind your hands because you have got the toothpick through here, and this is the one where I split the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this gets decent covering of flour. You just put the seasoning on. It's going to dry that chicken breast out as well, just to make sure that the egg sticks to it. Make sure that you give a good dip into the part of the chicken that you want to seal up to stop the garlic butter coming out. Hopefully you can see that. Straight into the egg wash. Make sure all ends are covered. Straight in to the panko breadcrumbs. Give them a good turn around. Make sure we get a beautiful coat on there. Paying close attention to the opening there where the garlic butter is. We want to seal that up. Get them over the top. Beautiful. That's well coated. Straight onto our plate. Same again with this one. We avoided the split this time on this one, thankfully. I mean, look, it's not a precise science. You are going to get a little bit of seepage from these if you make them at home. Only a pro chef's going to manage to seal them up completely perfectly. Don't worry about it too much. There's plenty of garlic butter in there. The flavour will be in there. The only thing that you'll lose is that kind of oozing at the end when you first cut into it. But you know what? They're still going to taste great. I'm making excuses now. So in the breadcrumbs, give them a good cover. Dab that end down that we want to seal up. Give it a good push together. Make sure every part of this is covered straight onto the plate. Okay, let's start to do a little bit of preparing for our Duchess potatoes. We've got our potatoes boiling away over here, which is lovely. When we're going to mash them, we're going to mash them like we just mash normal potatoes, really. But what I'd like to do is get a couple of decent tablespoons of butter. Let's go one more of those in there. We're going to melt that in a minute. But what we're also going to use are the yolks of 3 or 4 eggs. So let me grab another ramekin. That's perfect. I don't know whether you guys have seen me separate eggs before. I'll give you a very quick demonstration. I've not got the best technique in the world, but it seems to work okay to me, just using the shell as a little go-between. There's one in there. That one broke, but just not before I managed to get it into the ramekin. That's 2. What you want to do really is get as much of the egg white off as possible, including the little snotty bit that seems to hang on to the edge there. So there we go. There are 3 egg yolks. And then all I'm going to do with this is stick it in the microwave for a couple of minutes to melt that down. Okay, so our potatoes have boiled quite nicely. I've strained those off. I've got as much water out of those as possible, which is very important here. And now what I'm going to do is mash them. Now I'm not going to mash them as I would mash normal potatoes, because these we need to make sure there are as many lumps out of here as possible. So I'm using a potato ricer. These are quite cheap to pick up now. I just got this from my local kind of cooking gadget shop, and it comes with two different options in terms of how you want to mash the potatoes. I'm going to go for the finest option. The reason that we want to get these nice and lump free is that we're going to be piping these onto a tray. And the whole point is that we want them as smooth as possible. So it's very simple really. One of the reasons that you let the potatoes cool down is that then you can just pile them by hand into the ricer here. Just make sure you've got nice clean hands, and it's just a matter of closing the potato ricer down straight over the top, and it instantly removes all of the lumps and bumps out of these mashed potatoes. I'll do that one more time just to show you. Another couple of potatoes in there, 2 and 3. Get the device over the top, give it a good squeeze, and what we're going to end up here with is beautiful riced potatoes, which is going to turn straight into mash. Let me finish these off and I'll show you what we add next. Okay, so these potatoes have been riced beautifully. As you can see, it's already forming a beautiful mash. What we need to do now is season this as much as we can. Decent bit of salt, not too much, because remember we're going to be adding some parmesan in here, and that's already quite salty. We get some pepper. I'm going to be using both black pepper and a bit of ground black pepper as well in here. We've got our melted butter, all of that goes in there. We've got our egg yolks. Don't waste any of that, get that in there. And then we want a good couple of pinches of that beautiful parmesan. Now, all you need to do is get a fork, start mixing that all in. And as you can see, the potato starts to take on that beautiful mash texture. And you know, you can see how easily I'm doing this with just a standard table fork. The wet ingredients are turning it into a beautiful mash, and the egg yolks are making it a lovely golden brown colour. What you want to do is keep turning this with the fork, because you're adding air to it by using a fork. Keep turning it round, make sure everything's beautifully mixed up, and then what we're going to do is get this into a piping bag, which I'll show you in a minute, and then we're going to pipe these out into our beautiful little Duchess potatoes. Okay, so as you can see, our potato is now ready to go into our piping bag. Let me just show you the consistency of this, you know, really smooth, really nice, beautiful. That's exactly what we want. So, get yourself a piping bag, get quite a wide nozzle. I'd like it a little bit wider than that actually, but it's the only one I've got, so this will have to do. And then what we're going to do is get some of our mashed potato. Let's get a spoon. It'll be a lot easier. And get that into our piping bag. I think I tried piping some potato in my cottage pie video really badly. Didn't work out very well at all. So let's hope this one turns out a little bit better. Okay, that will do for now. And then what we're going to do is bring our baking tray over with a bit of greaseproof paper on it. I'm going to focus in a little bit more so you can see what I'm up to. Let me zoom in a tad. First thing I'm going to do with that, it is a piece of greaseproof paper anyway, but I just want to make sure that these don't stick. So I'm going to use a little bit of fry light on there. Now, let's see how we go with this. Now what we want to do is start off by piping a circle. And then we want to go round and round and then start to build up into a peak. Just like that. Quite happy with that. Let's do another one. Doesn't matter if they're not continuous, as you can see. You just want to get a decent bit of height on them. There we go. That's pretty good. So I'm going to do a few more of these, then we're going to look to get them in the oven. There we go. I'm actually quite pleased with those. I'm going to give them another quick spray of fry light, because we do want them to go nice and golden brown. And then what we're going to do is get these in the oven. They're going to go in for about 15 minutes on about 180 degrees. Now it's time for us to get our Kievs out of the fridge. They're nice and cold, as you can see. They've got a really decent breadcrumb coating on them. What you can also do is just give them a pat to make sure that those breadcrumbs stick nicely to them. Decent coating all round. Bottoms are nicely coated as well. And then what I've got here is a nice pan of oil. I've had that heating up slowly but surely. And what we're going to do, first cooking process here, is to just fry these off to get some colour on those breadcrumbs. As you can see, I haven't got the oil too hot. It's not bubbling away straight away. We just want to get them nice and golden. We don't want to cook these all the way through. We're going to finish them off in the oven. As I start to add these in, they're going to start to get a beautiful colour to them. These are starting to turn a lovely golden colour now, so what we're going to do is get our tongs, just turn them over. Just give them just as long on the other side. So they've now had a couple of minutes either side. What we're going to do, turn it back over, put it in the pan. That's exactly what you're looking for. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. They're not going to get any better than that. They're not quite finished. We're going to finish them off in the oven. They need about 15 minutes on 160. There we go. They're looking pretty good. They've been in the oven for about 15 minutes, as I said. They've been on about 160 degrees. And I think we've got the finish on those potatoes that we were looking for. You see that they've held their shape quite nicely. They've browned really nicely all over. And they've not stuck to this paper, which is very, very handy. So what I do now is just loosen them a little bit, just in case I have to start a tiny bit, just make sure they're ready to go. And then what we're going to do is just sit these to one side, and then we're going to check on our Chicken Kievs. Now the Chicken Kievs are just out of the oven, as you can see. They're looking pretty good as well. Nice and brown. You see we have got a little bit of seepage here, you know, we've got some garlic butter that's seeped out. Don't think there's any way of avoiding that really. It doesn't matter too much. You obviously want to avoid it if you can. But I'm actually pretty happy with the way they look and the way they've come out. What we'll do is we'll plate it up now, and then I'll show you the completed dish once we're ready to start eating. So here it is. We've got Duchess potatoes, which are made using normal mashed potatoes, egg yolks and some cheese. And we've also got a Chicken Kiev. So let's see how we get on with this Chicken Kiev. Let's cut that. through the middle there. And you know what, that's not too bad. As you can see, we've still got a lot of the parsley sauce in there, we've still got a lot of the garlic in there. That's kind of seeped out a little bit there as well. Let me give you a little bit more of a close-up of that. There you can see it quite well. And these potatoes, they should be beautifully soft on the inside and crispy around the outside. That's really, really good. Lovely. So, as you can see, this dish is not the simplest dish I've ever made. I've made dishes that you know, you can make much quicker, but actually making your own chicken Kievs is really quite easy. You just need to put a little bit of time into it, but the quality of the meat that you get in these homemade chicken Kievs as opposed to those processed chicken Kievs is lovely, and the potatoes are just a nice change from standard mashed potatoes or baked potatoes, and you know, again, quite easy to make. So thank you for watching, enjoy, and I'll see you again soon.